Hello, today I'm going to share with you how to draft and sew a tube dress with a ruffle. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So first, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to waistline. My shoulder to bust is 9, my shoulder to under bust is 12, my shoulder to waistline is 17 inches. You want to go ahead and mark your shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 inches divided by 2, I have 7. So I'll be going down by 1 inch at that point. After doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to draw my shoulder slope. So the neckline is not so important because this is a tube dress. The next is to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So I'll make sure that what I have on the shoulder is what I have on this point, and I'll connect. So your chest line is also your armhole. So what I have from that point down to my bust, I'm going to mark it. This is just to make sure I have a straight line at that point. And I'm just going to go ahead to connect with my ruler and also draw it out at the other end. So after I'm done drawing it out, this is what I have, and I'll label that as my chest line. So the next step is to divide this into 2. Place your tape starting from your chest line to your shoulder, divide it into 2 and come in by ½ inch. From that point, I'm going to go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have approximately 8.3. Connect from your bust down to that ½ inch and to your shoulder. Next, you want to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. So I'm going to mark that 3.5 all the way down to my pattern to my waistline. And after I'm done marking that, I'm just going to go ahead to place my ruler and I will connect, drawing a straight line. Next step, you want to mark your dart intake. Now I'm going to be marking 1 inch at my under bust. For a plus size, go ahead and use 1.5 inches, and I'll also mark this at my waist. After I'm done doing that, go ahead to place your rule, connect from your under bust to your waist, and also repeat this at the other side of your pattern. Now I'm going to place my French curve this way, connect from my bust down to my under bust. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process for the other side of my pattern. Place my curve through also, and I'm going to connect from the under bust down to the bust. So this is what I have on this point. So next, you want to go ahead and determine where your tube dress is going to start. So I'm making use of 2 inches. You can use 1.5 inches, but you should not go lower than 1.5 inches from your chest line. At that point, I'll draw a line and I'll go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'll connect it back to my pattern. Now I'll be marking a dart intake of 1 inch at both sides. For a plus size, you're going to make use of 1.5 inches. And after I'm done doing that, I'm going to place my curved ruler connecting from that point down to the under bust. And at the other part, I'm also going to repeat the same process. So after you're done doing this, all you have to do is to go ahead to draw out your neckline. So for the tube dress we are working on, the neckline is straight, and I'm just going to curve the sides down to the armhole this way. So after that, we are done with the neckline, and the next step is to insert our body measurement. At the bust, I'll mark the bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake of 2 inches, and I'll replace and I'll add the sewing allowance. So my bust circumference is 33 divided by 4, I have 8.3. So whatever you have at the chest line, that's what you're going to have at the at your bust, sorry. At the under bust, I'll mark the under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace it, and add my sewing allowance of 1.5. At the waistline, I'll repeat the same process. So my under bust circumference is 28, and also my waist circumference is 28 divided by 4, I have 7 inches plus 2 inches dart intake, and also my 1.5 inches sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead to place my pattern and I will connect. So after I'm done collecting, the next step is just to go ahead to use my marker, and I'm going to outline all my pattern. And after I'm done outlining it, I'm just going to go ahead to use my scissors to cut this out. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always supporting my channel. So after cutting it out, this is what I have for the front pattern of my dress. Now moving over to the back, we're gonna head to mark out all the basic measurements. Just like we did in front, the same thing is applicable for the back. So you can just go ahead to draw your back armhole this way. So the next step you want to take on this is to go ahead to mark your dart intake. And to mark your dart intake is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. We'll start from that point, and I'll mark it at the bust, at the chest line, at the under bust, at the waistline, and I'll go ahead to connect just like we did also for the front pattern. So note all your measurements at the back start immediately after your zipper allowance. Now I'll be marking half inch at the both sides of my waistline at this point. And for where my dart will start is your shoulder to bust plus 1 inch. Now I'll place my ruler and I'll be drawing my dart for both sides of my pattern. After connecting my darts from my chest line, I'm going to go ahead to come down by half inch, and from that half inch I'll extend it out to the zipper, and I'll take my French cuff and I'm going to connect it all the way back. So the reason why you're going down half inch from your chest line at the back is so that by the time you fix your zip at the back part of your dress, it will not be popping up. So I'll just go ahead and blend it a little because it's a bit curvy. And after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to start marking my measurements. At the bust, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. Now there's no dart at that point. So at the under bust, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake I took out, I'll replace it. Very important to do that, and I'll add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, which is 28 divided by 4. I have 7. Measure the dart intake I have there, which is about 1 inch, and add 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. So the next step I want to take is to go ahead to connect from the upper part of my pattern down to the lower part, which is my waist. And after that, I'm just going to go ahead to connect. So this is what I have for my back pattern, and if you have any question concerning this pattern, please leave your question at the comment section. So this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out, and before cutting out, you're going to get rid of the bulginess at the back of the dress. So to do that, you're going to mark half inch at this point, and you're going to place your ruler and you're going to connect it all the way up. And after you're done connecting, the next step is just to go ahead to cut out your pattern. So for the back, you can decide to cut out the darts that you marked, or you can just blend the darts in, and cut it as one piece. So whichever way you want or prefer, go ahead to do that. So I also have a second YouTube channel, which is Draft with Maki, where I also post drafting tutorials. So you can go ahead and check that out on my second channel. So after I'm done cutting out my back pattern, this is what I have. So just like I said, you can go ahead to blend it out and cut it as one piece, or just cut out your dart. So moving over to the skirt pattern, here on my pattern paper, the first thing you want to do is to get the skirt length. So my top, the upper part stopped at the waistline, which is 17 inches, and the full length of my dress is 35. So you're going to go ahead to add your folding allowance of 1.5 inches or 2 inches, whichever one you so desire. So I will rule out a line at those points, which will indicate my skirt length and my folding allowance. So the next step we want to take is to go ahead to start drawing out your skirt. So at the upper part will serve as my waist. Now I'm going to mark 7 inches to get my hip point. For a much taller person, go ahead to use 8 inches for your hip point. And I'm just going to go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to connect a line at that point. And after drawing it out, I'm going to be labeling it as my hip point. After doing that, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, which is 28 divided by 4. I have 7. Go ahead to add my sewing allowance. So if you're going to add a dart to your skirt, go ahead to do that. But whenever I'm sewing a bustier or corset, I don't add that to my skirt. I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4, which is 40 divided by 4. I have 10 plus 1.5 inches for sewing allowance, giving me 11.5. So whatever I have there, I'll be taking out 2 inches or 1.5 inches from there. It depends on how fitted you want your dress to be. So I took out 2 inches from mine, and I marked 9.5 at my skirt length and also at my folding allowance. So the next step is to connect from my waistline down to my hip point. So after I'm done connecting that point, I'm just going to go ahead to turn my French curve the other way, and I'm going to go ahead to connect from that point down to my skirt length. And also after connecting that, I'll connect it to my folding allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut out my skirt. So after I'm done cutting out my skirt, this is what I have. So for your back pattern, you're going to add your zipper allowance. So when I was cutting out, or when I was drafting out my pattern, I actually added this in front, my zipper allowance. So if you fold it back, you're going to have your front pattern. To cut out your back, you're going to have this. So join us in our next video where we'll be actually sewing this dress. And if you haven't yet subscribed at this point, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and join us in our next